photos at relatively high ISO settings are a little noisier than I expected. I would have thought that Canon would have, you know, done a little bit better with the technology and the time it's had. But then again, maybe they don't care because they want people to spend money on their, you know, flagship SLRs, or even the SX20 IS, which is identical to this camera, except that it uses a CMOS sensor instead of a CCD. CMOS sensors are used in DSLR cameras, digital SLR cameras, and they have an extremely better capacity to handle low light situations and shots shot in high ISO. So let's talk about the good stuff now. Lots of good stuff about the camera. Battery life is exceptional. It takes AA batteries, which I personally love, because that means that I'm not forced to use any third-party proprietary battery packs, or you know, I don't have to hunt down a cheap third-party replacement or an extra pack for me to keep charged all the time. Don't have to have a custom charger. And if worse comes to worse and I run out of my rechargeable batteries, I can go pick up some off-the-shelf alkalines, throw them in the camera, and get, you know, the shots that I need to in an emergency situation. This is one of the things that I've really loved about Canon cameras, and Canon continues to go about. They don't use proprietary battery packs on most of their cameras except for their digital ELF series, and the only reason they do that is because they need the camera to be as small and as tiny as possible. And the battery life is just unbelievable, even on a set of plain old mediocre 2000 milliamp hour nickel metal hydride cells. The camera lasted me 2 weeks of shooting, you know, at least 10 minutes of video per day and several photographs a day. In fact, it's been, well, over 3 weeks since I got the camera, and I'm only on my second set of batteries. Just amazing. I really, you know, can't stress that enough. It's just an amazing, even using the LCD screen, which I use a lot for my blog. The LCD screen. The Canon Powershot SX20 IS has a flip-out articulating, very large, 3-inch, I believe, LCD screen. Very high resolution, very colorful, very bright, and easy to see. The flip-out and articulating nature means that you can see pretty much whether you're holding your camera over your head at a concert or a school event, or whether you're doing blog style videos and need to video yourself. You can flip that screen out and articulate it in such a way that you can see what you're recording, and it leads to much better videos, much better photos too. Lastly, one of the last things is the audio. You guys know how disappointed I was in the audio of my previous Panasonic Lumix FZ28. The audio, I used the word in my original review a year ago or 2 years ago, and I'll use the words now. The Lumix FZ28 had piss poor audio. It had a single little hole for the microphone in the front of the camera. It was mono sound, not even stereo, and muffled in such a way that you could barely hear it, and had to do a ton of post-processing. And not only that, I found out later that the audio was actually being recorded at like 48 kilobits a second with a 22 kilohertz sample rate, which is just pitiful, ridiculously pitiful. It always led me to wonder why they even gave the camera the ability to record video if they weren't going to include the ability to record decent stereo audio. It's just ridiculous. no excuse for it. Now they've remedied that with the FZ35 and FZ38, or so I hear. Haven't had any hands-on time with the cameras, but I can say that the SX20 IS has the best microphones that I've ever seen on a camera, short of my original S3 IS and the S1 IS before it. Both those were both Canons. Canon seems to know how to do the audio right. The audio options in the camera are impressive for the microphones. They let you set line levels and, you know, graphs and all kinds of stuff that I have yet to even delve into. But picking the camera up right off the shelf and shooting video, you get exceptional audio, exceptionally accurate positional audio, which is just fantastic. So, last thing, the 20 times zoom lens, fantastic. Of course, more optical zoom is always better, and the Canon certainly doesn't fall short. I think it's got the highest optical zoom, aside from one Fuji, I think, that's out there now that has something like a 36x optical zoom. Crazy looking beast of a camera. But Fuji's or Olympus or whatever it is, I can't remember. They're not my favorite cameras. This about winds it up. At least I can't think of anything else. There are a few little things that I don't like about the camera, such as the fact that the oh, I know what it was. Now I remember. I had one more gripe, big gripe, and this is a big one. I don't understand it. Canon has chosen not to make it easy for us to add additional lenses onto the camera. About the only way you can get lenses or filters for the camera. In fact, you can't even get lenses. What you can get is filters. And those filters clip on to the end of the lens barrel using the same method that the lens hood does and the lens cap uses. It's a shame to have to use a clip-on filter if you want to use a polarizing filter, or just an ultraviolet protective filter to protect the lens. You don't have any choices that screw onto the end of the end of the lens barrel. That's just ridiculous, and I have a sneaking suspicion that the reason they have done this was purely greed. They want you to, if you want to be able to use lenses and extra filters and all that kind of stuff, Canon thinks that you should have to spend the extra money on one of their SLR offerings. This is pitiful when you consider that back in the day with the smaller Canon A40 and A560 and some of the A series cameras and some of the S series prosumer cameras, these had the ability to attach a full-on lens system, interchangeable lenses. They all had a little ring that you could detach, and you could attach, had a quick attachment system for a lens or filters or a whole slew of different devices. My only, that's a big gripe I have with this camera. The two biggest gripes I have are the fact that you can't really add you can't do lenses at all, and you can do filters only by means of what they call a LensMate, a third-party adapter ring that basically just clips onto the end of the barrel